Lodon.
It's okay.
And I do that all the time. Anyone that has a French last name, I do that. It's unbelievable, and I'm really, really sorry about that. Also, this episode is brought to you by Towson, Hit Brand Clothing, and of course Spotify, which you guys probably just heard the advertisement there. But thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It means a lot to me. So, here's a funny story about you and I. About 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. About 2 years ago, there was our friend Rob.
Yes.
Weinhold from the Faucet was putting on a reputation management seminar. Now, you guys know me. I'm kind of well known in the reputation management field. And my business partner says to me, he goes, yeah, dude, there's a reputation management seminar and a panel that's going on in Hun Valley. And I go, and we're not invited? So we go. Rob's up there, Denise from Cafe Hun, another client of mine.
That's right.
She's up there, and you were up there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who is Kate? Who's Kate? So then Kate starts talking, and I'm like, school nerds are shit, right? And I'm like, this is awesome. And so I remember I walked up to you, introduced myself, whatever. Actually, I was outside when I introduced myself to you, and you were like, that's awesome, let's stay connected. And we connected on LinkedIn. And then this is why LinkedIn's so important, by the way, guys. I connected with her. We didn't really say anything or do anything, but I definitely followed what she was doing. And then we had some of the same people that we were kind of doing stuff with, and that's how you and I reconnected. I did a podcast with Amanda, right?
Yes.
And then you liked it, and then we kind of went from there, and then you and I picked back up on our relationship. And then it just kind of like peaked on me, because I love what Kate does, not only on LinkedIn, but on Instagram and everything else like that. It just peaked to me like, dude, I gotta get you on the show. But we had to do it differently.
Yes.
I just had to do it that way. So she trucked up here from Virginia. She left down there at 10:30. She got here, it's now 12:55, and she made it, and we're gonna get into this episode. Let's start from the very beginning. Where are you from?
I am from the smallest county in Maryland, Calvert County. And whenever I say that to people, they're like, Howard? I'm like, no, Calvert. It's like southern, 40 minutes south of Annapolis is generally like how I describe it. In between Solomon's Island and Annapolis, that's where I reside.
Right.
Or resided.
And it's funny because when you grow up in Maryland, like that's how people ask where you're from.
Yeah.
You can say the county you're from.
Yes.
Right? But if they don't know the county, you just then pick the closest city that's well known to people and go about 45 minutes from there.
It's true. No, I was actually traveling in Spain and Portugal, and my girlfriend called me out. She was like, why don't you say you're from like whatever? I'm like, they have no context for that. I'm just like outside of Annapolis, DC. Like that's my. I go with sports affiliations. I'm like, I'm a Skins fan.
There you go.
DC is like how I.
There you go. Because that's where people ask me, and I'm like, I'm from Baltimore.
Yeah, exactly.
And then somewhere around there during the day, I find myself in different places. But we can just say Baltimore. So you grew up in Calvert County.
Yep.
You went to high school down there?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went to college?
Yes.
Where'd you go to college?
I turned 18. I was from obviously a very small town, and I got the hell out of Dodge. Like I was just like, we're out. So I went to North Carolina, University of North Carolina, Wilmington. But at the time, I had just started modeling, and I had got placed with a boutique agency in Manhattan. And so I really realized to maintain any kind of career from North Carolina to New York was not going to cut it, so I transferred up here to Towson University. I didn't want to go to school in Manhattan, so it was an easy train ride if I had to get up for work.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you graduated from Towson?
I did. Yeah. Go Tigers.
Congratulations, because I dropped out of Towson.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I went to Towson too, and I did the same thing. I grew up in like the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
Like 6 houses, 2 cornfields on the Maryland PA line. Moved to Ocean City.
Okay.
When I was 18.
Yep.
And surfed and got tattoos and I guess bartended, sort of.
Sure.
Not really.
Sort of.
And then finally gave it to my parents and went back to college. Went to college, we did our thing. But yeah, Towson, and then like we were just talking about, the point in Towson actually used to be a crease. And it didn't look anything like this, obviously. And I'm sure TJ grabbed some footage that you guys got to see of these places now. But it was a great area to go to college, and it was a great time, in my opinion, to grow up in this area.
Yeah.
It's just a great location, and the college is great too. It's grown a lot. So you went to Towson, graduated from Towson,
I did.
and with a degree in, here we go. This is always interesting, by the way. Has nothing to do with what she does now, but go ahead.
Well, interestingly enough, it does, but
Okay.
it wasn't going to. So when I went up to New York and I was meeting with these agents, there's like some defining moments in your life and you're like, that totally altered the course of how things were gonna go. So I was up in an agency and these guys were sitting there looking at me and they're like, you need to lose 20 more pounds. You cannot wax your eyebrows without consulting us. Do not cut your hair. And you have to go on these photo shoots for 12 hours a day. And I was just sitting there looking at all these other girls receive this kind of direction. And I finally said to the guy, I think I'm on the wrong side of the table. Like, you're making 20% of everything that we do, and I'm schlepping around like Manhattan and all these photo shoots, calling you for permission to wax my eyebrows. Like, this is crazy. And so instead of getting angry about it, I was like, I'm gonna figure out how they do what they do, and I'm gonna do it better. So my whole goal was I was gonna be like the Jerry Maguire of models. Like, I was gonna come in and be this like, ass-kicking agent.
Yeah.
And when I asked them how they got to where they got, they all went to law school. So I was like, okay, I guess that's what you gotta do to be a talent agent. So I started to study law, or that was my intention at Towson. I was studying for the LSATs and everything. And then in the middle of it all, I took a sales course. And I remember sitting there, Todd, and being like, well, fuck law, like this is what I need to know regardless of if I'm a lawyer, if I'm an agent, it's sales. And I became absolutely enthralled by it. So I switched my major. I graduated in mass communications with a certificate in PR, but really the thing that I loved about Towson and why this area in Baltimore was so formative for my whole entire entrepreneurial route was, while all my friends were going out, I was just this nerd and I started looking for businesses to connect to sororities and frats, and I just started hustling. And I graduated early with that degree, so yeah.
And see, a lot of people used to shit on the mass communications degree.
Yeah.
Like, people would make fun of it, right?
Totally.
But in my opinion, it's a great degree to get because it's so broad
It is.
that you can utilize it in many different job opportunities.
Yeah.
And in fact, this is interesting. A young lady at the gym that I work out at Merritt, I was talking to her the other day, and I said, I literally started asking in-depth things. I said, how much do you make? Like, I have no filter, by the way, obviously. I'm like,
Yeah.
how much money do you make here? She told me she's like $2,000.
Sure.
I said, did you graduate from college? She's like, yep. I'm like, in what? And she's like, criminology and forensics. And I'm like, okay. You made $2,000. Once you graduated college, 3 years ago. Right? Her brother or sister, one graduated with computer science, the other one graduated in mass communications, are making $100,000 a year.
Easy. Yeah.
Okay. And she's super smart,
Yeah.
and she's making $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
And so I don't want anybody to ever feel like a mass communications is not a great degree. It's quite literally the best degree, in my opinion, that you can get now in college because it's so broad and you can utilize it in so many different facets and so many different jobs if you're going out to try to get hired for a job instead of from an entrepreneurial standpoint, right?
Absolutely. And I think they probably, obviously, come on, I graduated Payne's when you say over 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
Ish. But I'm sure they changed the curriculum because of emerging media, or what they were calling emerging media at the
You'd
time.
think.
Yeah, but two of the best classes I took was news writing.
Yeah.
Because you really got to the core of what's story and what's narrative, which is something that persists in all media and marketing for sure. And then this class that I actually thought it was like a bullshit class for the honors college where you were just recording sound. And we would go to parks and record sound and learn how to edit sound. I'm like, when am I ever going to use this? Hello.
Dude, I'll tell you, and this is the truth, over the last 4 years, we've had interns, okay? And with my interns, I take them everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I take them in meetings, I have them sit through meetings, everything, clients, right?
Yeah.
I have them jump into working with Premiere Pro and things of that nature, Adobe and all that kind of stuff, dude. Every single year, okay, and this is no joke, they all tell me they learned more in the 3 months they were with me than they've learned in college. And these are people that are going to school for business, for marketing.
Totally.
So, to your point, I still don't believe that college and the curriculum in school right now is teaching these kids what they need to know when they go out in the real world, right?
100%.
And one of the things that the girl said to me, she said, I can't get a job at this place because I don't have experience. Well, and she interned with that type of place.
I know.
That's a real big problem for me.
The whole, and not to go on a complete tangent about college, but to go on a slight tangent about college, I couldn't agree more. Like, if and when I choose to have kids, I'm not going to make them go in that mindset of at 18 and then go figure out at a very expensive price what education you need that I don't think aligns with what they really need for the rest of your life. Like at 18, who's deciding that? I totally would make them travel for a year and go shadow an entrepreneur for a year. If let's say that's something they're interested in criminology, go shadow whatever, and then go to college. And if college is even as it is now, the business model it is now, a relevant thing. And this is why I think it's so interesting talking about, and this is a big conversation, like, oh, student loans in college, and this is where my like capitalist side comes out. I'm like, I think the whole thing's about to implode. Like the whole business model is obsolete. I think in certain cases capitalism should do its thing because there is a new wave of education that needs to come disrupt that outdated paradigm of a 4-year school. Like, how about we get more people in trade schools too? We have all of this machinery that's being operated by computers. That agenda needs to be pushed, and Mike Rowe, who is also proud Towson grad, I love what he's doing for that. Like, not everybody needs to go to 4 years. Not everybody should go to 4 years.
No, I mean, I was. People already know this about me. I was a terrible student. It's just the truth. I hated school. Like, and it just did not work for me. And I was aware enough to tell my parents, stop paying. Because I don't want to go anymore. And even in high school, I didn't like it. I remember taking the SATs the second time. And going in, I was being forced in to take the SATs. And I literally just filled out dots randomly. I did not care whatsoever about going to school. I just didn't. And because quite honestly, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't even know what I wanted to do up until probably like my mid 30s, early 30s, quite possibly was when I made like my first like entrepreneurial jump. But I always had that kind of sitting in the back of my head. If you've ever read my blog about the blow pops and eye poppers, that blog about how I hawked blow pops and eye poppers in middle school, and that was my first like run into like entrepreneurship. And so you were kind of already, your brain was already working that way anyway. And then what I found interesting about what you just said, you were in college, your friends were partying, and you were trying to figure out ways to create a business.
I mean, I think at the time, it's funny, retrospect is like the best position ever. I could look back and say, oh my God, all these entrepreneurial things. But at the time, I just love to network. Like, I'm an extrovert. There's not even a little piece of me that's an introvert. My form of torture is like, put me in a room by myself. I can't stand it. So I just started hustling and networking, and I was dating an entrepreneur who was 26. I was 20 at the time, so I would just go to events with him. And I would take these business cards from Kinko's, and they said, Kate Ladon, your future top employee. And I would just like hand them out to people, and it was a conversation, right? And
I love it.
People were like, "Oh my God, like how old are you?" So I couldn't even drink at these events. And it was, and that's another thing too. Now in branding, I always tell people like the business card is just a conversational piece. Like all of them will get thrown away. So just create an experiential moment with it. And that was me in college. People just ate it up. I mean, they ate it up, and I started building this business network in Baltimore before I even got hired in a corporate marketing department in Baltimore. And that is what really came to serve me when I made the leap from corporate to entrepreneurship 5 years after.
It's funny you bring up business cards too, because someone last night, Dr. Zinn actually from University of Maryland Children's Hospital, asked me, Todd, do you have a business card? He's like, I want to talk to you about some stuff. And I said, I don't have a business card. I said, just follow me on Instagram and DM me. I've quit giving my business cards out.
Totally.
And I'm like, if you really want to talk to me, connect with me on LinkedIn. Follow me on Instagram. Hit me up on Facebook. Whatever. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Instead of me giving you a card that you're going to throw away anyway. Let's be quite honest. Or let's exchange cell phone numbers right now and let's start texting each other and talking and creating that communication. I think that's the best way to do it. But your idea for the business card, that right there though, when people talk about print ads and stuff like that, and I just gave people some ideas with print ads anyway, but that right there is the best way to send out a resume. I wouldn't even send a resume. I would send that a piece of paper that literally says your name and your future best employee, and just send that to a company. That would 100%, I'm not even joking with you, if it was a marketing company, that would catch my eye. I'd be like, get that person on the phone right now.
Right? Pattern disrupt. Like, let's do this.
So, interestingly enough, we're talking about LinkedIn. You're a friggin' monster on LinkedIn right now, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm not. I tried really, really hard. I'm working LinkedIn hard. And I was working LinkedIn hard, and I'll tell you when things broke open for me on LinkedIn. Things broke open for me on LinkedIn when I was going through a really tough time in my life, probably like 3 or 4 years ago. I was struggling with some stuff internally, physically, stuff like that. And I just went to LinkedIn. This would be more of a Facebook post, but I went to LinkedIn and I wrote so much about what was going on in my life that I ran out of character.
Yeah.
And I posted it. And it went crazy nuts. And I was like, whoa, LinkedIn. And I remember LinkedIn when there was a time where if you did that, you would get like banged by people because they would be like, save that shit for Facebook.
Yeah.
Dude, that's gone.
Yeah.
Right? And I said somebody the other day about this. I said, those people are either fucking dead,
Yes.
or people our age came in, got pushed to C-level, and fired their fucking ass.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Because LinkedIn is not that anymore at all.
100%.
LinkedIn is, in my opinion, very close to what Facebook was like for you and I when we were growing up right now.
Yes.
That's what it's like right now.
And if you think about it, and I always tell this to people, they're like, oh my God, I wonder what made LinkedIn shift. I'm like, look at the timeline of the users. You're talking about a generation who grew up with MySpace and then Facebook and now comprise the largest segment of the workforce. It follows that authenticity and level of sharing would carry on to now a platform that is relevant to them because we're all in a professional space. So millennials got onto the platform and it altered. And then you would see at the beginning, like any adoptive manner, like people who were on there like, oh, this is not Facebook, get out. And you're like, okay. And then they would start being almost like the pariahs and people would be like, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't know what they do for a living. Like, my favorite thing was there was I mean, I could give you 30 examples of this. I see them every day. There was a woman on there, and I think she made like bathing suits or something. This is her business. She's doing it really well, and posted a photo from their photo shoot of their company of girls in bathing suits. And of course, everybody just loved to go in on that. And I just remember somebody saying, did you stop and consider that this is her business? So what do you get to deem professional if this is her professional pursuit? Shut up.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I literally tell people, and this is on any platform, if you don't like what you see, then don't fucking follow me.
Right.
You connect, like, I very rarely do I connect with people.
Yeah.
Like, if you view my, and this is what I love about LinkedIn, by the way. I love when somebody fucking views my profile and we're not connected.
Yes.
And they think that I can't fucking see that they looked at my profile.
Yes.
Why would you be such a creep? Just connect.
I know.
And be like, hey, what's up? Let me know.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I love that about LinkedIn that I can see, and then I can see, like, my competitors in the areas that we're in, they always view my profile.
Yeah.
And I love that they do that. I just find it interesting why they're not connecting with me.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes I'll just connect with them to make them feel super awkward, and then all of a sudden it'll go back and like they've blocked me, so they can't. Right? So I'm dead serious.
I was going to ask if they accept the connection.
Like, oh no, they'll block me. They'll be like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
shit, he's onto us. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. I was like, this is crazy. You don't know. But the one thing that I don't like about LinkedIn right now, and I refuse to do it, is I never hard sell in DM.
Yeah.
And I don't like the automated messaging when you connect with somebody. I don't like that. A lot of my mentors are like all in on it,
Yeah.
and I just don't like it because I like being more like, if we're gonna have a conversation, let's like, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Like very, very evergreen. Not
Totally.
I don't want the paragraph like this. And in fact, I got one the other day, and I brought the guy because I'm like, I told you on my LinkedIn, if you're gonna send me an automated DM, don't even bother connecting.
Yeah, you know, it's a shame because I think we are to a point now where people are, they're really spamming people. And to your point, when I see a message come in from somebody I don't know and it's 3 paragraphs, immediately you're getting a ding in my mind.
Yeah.
And unless I'm reading that and those 3 paragraphs are why you found my profile so interesting in a very authentic way, I just archive it right away.
Yeah.
Just point blank. It's interesting to me that people think that'll work. And sure, I'll give it to you that like in the grand numbers game, you might get 1 of 100 of those responding. But you and I both know business is long-term relationships. Nobody wants to start a relationship from that standpoint. So I couldn't agree with you more.
And that's what they're doing. They get super excited.
Yep.
And they go in for the sale right away.
Yeah.
And we just don't buy like that.
You know what?
No, go, because you just came on. Something just popped in your head. I just saw it.
This is like where I go, on my pet peeve.
Yeah.
And you know what my bigger pet peeve almost is than just trying to sell me something? Because that I'm just like, okay, whatever. My bigger pet peeve is when they go on and on about their product and then they're like, and here's my Calendly link. Go ahead and schedule a time. I'm like, well, that's audacious. Like, you're trying to sell me something and you can't even bother to say, how would Monday at 2 work for you? Is that, I understand you're busy, you have businesses. How about that? No. And here's a link to my Calendly. I'm like, you smug.
I know. Like, fuck you.
Lazy. It's lazy. It's
Lazy
so
and
annoying.
fake busy.
Exactly.
So, being 40, and I talk to my dad all the time. My dad stops by my office. He's 77 years old, still works.
Yeah.
Like, but he stops by my office randomly, right? And I have cameras all in our offices and stuff like that, so I can see him walking down the hallway and everything. Knock on the door, and I'll come in. And he'll sit down in my chair and he'll talk to me. This guy still sells. He's still. He was in the military for 20 years, but he's still. And he sells paving work to big corporations, stuff like that. And he gets amped. 77 years old, gets amped on a sale.
Yeah.
Or gets amped on how he does it, right? Like what he does. And I taught him how to Google people's names and find people and stuff like that. And he just got like a $6,000 job out of it and stuff like that. And so it's just very interesting. But the reason I bring that up is because we love technology and we love where it's going, but we also respect now the old school ways of, hey, I was just curious, you want to grab a cup of coffee? I would love to talk to you about some of the things that I see on your side that maybe I can help with. And if it's great, great. If not, then at least we connected. That little bit, I'm way more willing to actually take time and meet with that person. Then you give them the Calendly link and say, you pick what's good for you.
Right.
I'm wide open. You let me know.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
That's the way to approach that. So if anybody out there is doing what Kate said, use that approach.
Yes.
And I think it'll benefit you guys a lot more. Talk to me a little bit about LinkedIn, because a lot of my listeners are probably a little confused about how beneficial LinkedIn can actually be for not only an entrepreneur, but actually for the businesses that they work for.
Yeah, so I'll start with kind of the backstory of how I fell into LinkedIn, for lack of a better word, and then just really bring it full circle with why people need to be all in on it. So about year 2 of my business, the first year of starting your business, you're all buzzed up and like you're excited, you're taking everything that comes your way, you're pumped, you're working 70 hours a week, and you're just like, this is the best, I don't care, this is amazing. And then everybody's sending you referrals and we're all jazzed up on that. Then year 2 comes, and for me at least, it was this, I need to get strategic with lead generation. Referrals are always the best clients, but you can't look at them and forecast on that.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know when they're coming, right? So I was schlepping around Baltimore, going to networking event after networking event, and I just thought, there's gotta be a better way to do this. And I'm a person that I change because of pain, and sometimes I need to exacerbate the pain to myself in order to motivate change. So I sat down with a piece of paper, and I make every single student that comes into the LinkedIn Influence Academy I run do this, and I mapped out time at coffee meetings, time at in-person meetings, time at networking events, and what I figured out is conservatively per month, I was spending 10 hours a week, and that was a light week, as you and I know, on like events, 10 hours a week or 40 hours a month on business development related activities. For a solo consultant, which I was, that was a whole working week of billable hours for me, and I just thought, if I can figure out a way to have this, I'll be a lot better off. And so around that time, somebody said to me, you marketers, you're so funny. You love social media, but none of you are doing LinkedIn or doing it well. And again, I'm the kind of person where like the quickest way you can get me to do something is tell me I can't do something. I'm just sickly wired that way. And so I was like, okay. And I was at that perfect intersection of desperation and kind of intrigue and a little bit of, don't tell me what I can't do. I'll get on there and blow it up for all I care. So I did, and I got on LinkedIn, and 2 weeks later, a client from Toronto reached out who was launching a curly hair care product, and she was like, I looked at your stuff on LinkedIn, I want to work with you. And so I started to go to the pitch, and she's like, no, I don't think you're hearing me. I don't need to be told why I should work with you. I want to work with you. Tell me how much it's going to cost me. We launched the brand, and then I blew it out the water. I think it went to $1 million in revenue in the first year, and they got accepted by Y Combinator, who incubates companies like Google, Uber, all the fancy ones in Silicon Valley. So all of a sudden it was taking off, and then I was at a client photo shoot and I got this email from Fox Business New York. No kidding, I thought it was spam. And it said, personal branding expert quote needed. And I was looking in the subject line, it said, hey Kate, we need a personal branding expert. So we wanted to reach out to you. Mariah Carey just totally botched her Christmas or New Year's Eve performance. I forget, this was a couple years ago.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I remember it.
Great.
Yeah.
Everybody was aware, except for sadly me. And I was like, shit, like I'm on this client photo shoot. I can't watch it. I don't want to burn bridges here. So I wrote her back and I was like, I'm sorry, I know you need this in a timely manner. I won't be able to provide it today. However, please, definitely, I'm your girl. Call me in the future. I didn't think she would because I didn't give her anything of value. A couple of months later, she reached out and she was like, hey, the Honest Company, Jessica Alba, just had another product recall. Ruh-roh, what does this mean for Jessica Alba's personal brand? What does it mean for the Honest Company? And I got quoted, and then all of a sudden I would get asked about Seth Rogen and the Oscars. I was getting asked about Kendall Jenner and Pepsi. I was getting asked about all these things, and then Harvey Weinstein's was on the very tip of that before it all really came out. They were like, should the Weinstein Company rebrand? And then I kept getting calls and like appearances, and clients were just zooming at me at the speed of light. And then one day this guy picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, I'm about to go on a reality show. I heard you're the person to do my personal brand strategy. We have this great call. I'm like, one more thing, how did you hear about me? He goes, oh, Jessica Alba's personal assistant like gave me your contact information. Right, so I was like, can you give me her contact information?
That would be great.
Can you just flip that intro back over? But I realized it's all because the way that reporter found me was through LinkedIn, and the way all the international clients that started to trickle in that were VC backed was through LinkedIn. Other consultants started to reach out to me and they're like, holy shit, what are you doing and can you teach us? I thought it was a me thing. I didn't think it was a replicatable thing. I just thought, it's my personality, it's my style, it works for me. And I took on my first client and did 6 weeks of coaching and consulting with her. And week 2, she sent me an email and she's like, you gotta charge more. And I was charging $2,000, which I thought was pretty steep for a solopreneur. It is, it's not a small amount of money. And she goes, I just got a federal government contract for coaching, and I got publicity in a national HR magazine. Like, what you're doing, you need to take this system and run with it. So I created the academy, but I bring all that to say this was 2-3 years ago is kind of when it started to take off. So right now, it is there. Like, it is an all-out land grab. We are in the heyday of when Instagram was first on and people were establishing influence, when Facebook was first on and people were just going in there and doing the land grab of real estate. You can get more of a following on LinkedIn from 0 today, I believe, than if you go in on Instagram right now and try and build that.
Agreed.
100%. They're setting you up to win. And LinkedIn, this is the other reason you guys need to know that this isn't just a good idea. LinkedIn got acquired by Microsoft. We all know this. A couple years ago, the valuation of the business was $26 billion. So everybody, industry and investor-wise, was like, that's crazy. Why would you spend $26 billion on a platform that traditionally loses money? And Microsoft very smartly said, well, you're looking at it at a face value integration standpoint. We're looking at it at a data standpoint. And of course, data is you and I and the 500 million users that are on there. However, LinkedIn wasn't getting that kind of buy-in other social media platforms are. So what do they have to do but make people, push them to the forefront, content creators, so then more people will be on the platform to digest that content. We're all on Instagram because we see our friends' kids or their weddings and stuff. LinkedIn didn't have enough content creators. So right now, as it stands today, not exactly on point, but close enough to paint the picture, there's over 500 million LinkedIn users. Less than half of them, about 250 million, get on once a month. Only 3 million are actively creating content, which means less than 1% are getting 9 billion of the views and engagement on this platform. Your face should just light up at how much that is poised for you to take off on this platform.
It's just pure opportunity.
Pure opportunity. And they're adjusting the algorithm every day to keep rising smaller people up.
Whoever is using it on a daily basis and is following their rules. And this is kind of another thing. There's so much good stuff that you just said.
Yeah.
But just little things like when you're uploading things natively to the platform, follow the rules that these platforms are actually telling you. Like when you upload a video now natively to Facebook, it literally has a checklist on the right-hand side. It says it will perform better if this. YouTube exact same way.
Yes.
Right? And LinkedIn's getting that way. One of the things that I thought LinkedIn did well within the last maybe year is they started integrating things from Facebook, Instagram, like sharing emotion within a post or a video, right? Like where we can congratulate or we can heart it or we can like it or whatever.
They don't have a ha-ha.
No, well,
where's the ha-ha?
I think that's coming. I think it's coming. But what I like about it is that LinkedIn literally was listening to their users, and people were saying, "Man, I wish they had this." And LinkedIn's like, "Well, we can do that," and they're doing all of the things that their users want them to do. And a lot of these other platforms just didn't do that. Like Facebook for a very long time started ignoring everyone and saying, "Yeah, we're just going to do whatever we feel like doing."
Sure.
Right? And even though Instagram's owned by Facebook, it was kind of the same way, but Instagram's done a good job of that, and I think that's why it has such a great hold on an audience. But every single person that is successful on all these other platforms is telling everyone to go to LinkedIn, start a LinkedIn, I don't care what age you are, and start putting out content immediately on that platform. It's beyond me though, you tell people to do that as a consultant, and then they don't listen, they don't do it.
Right.
Why is that?
I think with...
Why do we lead them to the water?
Yeah.
And we show them, and we're drinking from that water as well. We're leading them there and saying, drink from the water, it's good.
Yeah.
And they don't want to drink from the water.
Yeah. So I think immediate gratification, if they don't see it very quickly, can leave them, unfortunately, feeling disappointed. But one of my favorite quotes is, "The rarest of all human qualities is consistency." And you and I both know, for any social media platform, like, it is a consistent play. And I do this, no kidding, Todd, so I do this webinar as a funnel, right, to sell the online course. It's part of it. And I give them probably everything that they need to know, on that webinar, as most webinars do. And then I say, just go and do this for 30 days. Just do it for 30 days straight. That's how long that's the tipping point. You'll start to see it take off. And then I tell them, and you won't do it. And you're not going to do it because the rarest of all human qualities is consistency. And I was on the phone or presenting at a group of accountants, and the guy was like, "This is all well and good, but I don't even have enough time in the day to do this." I'm like, "That's a lie. Do you have enough time in the day to check the WSJ in the morning? Do you have enough time in the day to check your email? Then you have enough time to get on LinkedIn and spend, no kidding, 15 minutes for 30 days straight doing it. You're just not prioritizing it as the business generating activity it can be. And if you're not prioritizing it as such, there's two things happening. You're probably not using the right tactics, but before that, your messaging is probably off." And that's what I think so much of the success that our students experience on the platform is because 50% of the program is getting your avatar right and getting your messaging right and getting your authentic voice right. Everything else is like tactical, but 50% is that brand foundational work, and most people still don't know what their unique selling proposition is. They don't know exactly what they're helping with their customer. They can't figure it out. And so they spin their wheels on social and they're like, "It's not working for me." And I'm like, well, there's a reason.
It's funny because I don't really feel like I sell at all on any of my social media platforms, and that's by design. And what's even more interesting is that every single person I talk to, when they talk to me, and even if they follow me on social media, they literally say, "What do you do again?" I mean, every single time. And I'm like, it's in my bio. Like, if you want to buy something or you want to talk, just click that link. If you But most of the stuff that I put out is I mean, quite literally, is not selling, unless it's something where I show and I have proof and evidence that this is really working and helping somebody and that other people should hear about it, then I do it. But I typically only do that stuff in my stories. What I find on LinkedIn, especially from some of these professional people, is they don't create their own content. Where in LinkedIn, you have the ability to write your own articles and publish your own articles within LinkedIn. And a really good little tip is, if you do that, you can be picked up by a national magazine. The minute you get picked up by a Forbes, I'm telling you right now, I just popped their head again. If you get picked up by that, when all these people out here that are sitting here saying, "Why can't I get verified on Instagram?" The minute you get picked up on that, and a Wikipedia page picks that up as well, you apply for verification on LinkedIn or Twitter or anybody else, like that, you'll be verified. So that's your hack to get verified on LinkedIn the right way. That's how you get done.
Yeah,
I've been picked up, so sorry. It is what it is.
I'm so glad you said that because I publish an article weekly. Writing is a great love of mine. I've always been a fan of it. It's been really cathartic for me as I built my business to share my kind of foibles and learning lessons along the way, and almost like a business diary, and just like, here, learn from what I didn't do well. And I release that every week to my audience. And somebody said, and some LinkedIn expert said, and I understand what they were saying yesterday, they jumped in the comment section like, this is really great, but status posts still perform better than articles. I'm like, well, A, I wasn't insinuating that they weren't, and B, everything in context. If you're looking at engagement and reach level, yeah, status posts can go viral like this on LinkedIn faster than any other platform. However, if you're looking for credibility and thought leadership and an opportunity to be picked up and seen as an expert resource, which is what a lot of my students are after, long-form article generation is the way to do it.
Yeah.
So it's not apples to apples here, and it doesn't annoy me when people say that. I'm just like, you need to know what tactics work for establishing what part of your personal brand. Status posts will get you visibility, it'll get you consistency, people will start to associate your name with what you do. Long form will get you credibility, and because where it's housed on your profile, I still have articles from like 3-4 years ago where people are like, amazing, brilliant, this is incredible, where the status posts, they're long gone.
Well, people don't realize too, like, I get social media today, pops up in my Facebook feed all the time, and one of the reasons that I follow it is because I laugh at the articles that I read, because I read those articles and I go, how did this person
Get
that article published by social media today? I was like, I can write so much better than that. And my own self, I'll go, why did I not do that? Why didn't I write an article on that topic and literally send it to them? Or screenshot that article, write a better article on that same topic and send it back to them and say, this article, I like that article, but this article was way more in-depth on this particular topic. What do you guys think about publishing this? You'd be surprised actually sending that to somebody. Somebody will walk it upstairs to an editor and they'll give it to them and be like, you know what, yeah. And that's how one of the nightclub and bar thing that goes on in Vegas, I got asked to speak out there last year, and I got asked to come back this year for main stage. And then when they went and they read my blogs, they said, would you please start contributing blogs to us so we can reshare and do that from that standpoint? And I was like, absolutely, like I would love to do that. So when those opportunities come along, and you get those opportunities to be published as an author on your thoughts, you've got to take those opportunities. You cannot just not do that. That's so stupid.
Well, and here's the thing too, and I love people to remind people of this, 94.2, I'll say that again, of the press rate LinkedIn as their go-to place to find experts and connect.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And Twitter for news?
Twitter for news.
I mean, most of those people go to Twitter to grab news stories, right?
Yeah,
Would you agree?
Yep.
And then LinkedIn for connections in specific professions.
Totally.
Okay.
Yes. So
Got
Twitter
it.
for news, and then they're looking for expert commentators. That's exactly how Fox Business found me.
Yeah.
I asked her point blank, Jane, how did you find me? She was like, well, you were just popping up all over my LinkedIn feed. The second I saw somebody just totally eat it on their personal brand, it was like, you were right there in front of me.
I love that you asked that question.
Yeah.
Because I don't hear it enough. How did you hear about me? I really think anytime you get introduced by anybody, especially if it's from a phone standpoint, right, or an email standpoint, where it's kind of where you're like, I don't know how this happened unless they're introducing a relationship of how we connected. Like you introduced me to Mike, but I know how that happened, right? But if it's someone that you've never met before, always ask that question, because it's also going to give you an idea of if you keep hearing the same thing over and over again, like if I keep hearing I found you on Google, found you on Google, found you on Google, that's kind of like a heads up to me that I should be running Google ads.
100%.
But if you start hearing a lot of the times, I just see your stuff on LinkedIn and LinkedIn and LinkedIn and LinkedIn, then you need to start contributing more to that platform, right?
Yes.
What do you think about, because I'm interested in this right now because I do it, what do you think, one, about paying for premium for LinkedIn?
Yeah.
And two, what do you think about running ads on LinkedIn as not only a solopreneur, personal brand, but as a business?
It's a great question. So number one, premium. I think most people probably don't need it. It's expensive. I think cheapest version is like $60 a month. You get a little bit more metrics. For me, I do it. I run a course about this. I run a program about this. This is my lifeblood. I have premium. And Sales Navigator, I do not, because again, I don't approach LinkedIn as a salesperson would. I approach LinkedIn as a thought leader would. And so for me, Premium provides me the insights to make sure my message is right. And I'm going to keep coming back to messaging because that's the thing. If you're not seeing success on social media, your messaging is off. It's not aligned with your target market. So for me, I'm obsessed with every time I post a status post or long form content or my profile, I look at the stats of the breakdown of who's looking at it. And the thing I love about LinkedIn is it will tell me every single time the majority of people that look at it are salespeople, because it's the majority of people on LinkedIn. However, the next top 3 consistently now for the last 2 years that look at my content are executive director, founder, business consultant. And those are my sweet spot. So the second that I start seeing that is not who's in the top 3, I know the messaging is off. It is the best platform to echo back to you if your messaging is hitting with your target audience, because it tells you exactly where they're at. It tells you exactly who they are and what positions they're in and what companies they work for. I started to see different companies like EY looking at my stuff, and I was like, if I wanted to, I could go sell EY probably. Be like, hey, I know Sandy, Martha, and John have been looking at my stuff. Let's talk about a personal branding workshop. So much better of a pitch or like a warm introduction. So a premium does give you more of those peeks into it. The second thing that you were talking about was running ads, and admittedly, because I'm not consulting businesses anymore on LinkedIn, I'm probably not as sharp on this as I should be. And 2 years ago when we were running ads, we still found them to be incredibly expensive, and the ad format still wasn't there in a way that Facebook ads were letting you do video and more in-depth things, and even the length of character count where you were getting those personable ads that didn't feel super corporate and Shutterstocky.
Right.
They might have altered that, and I think they smartly are altering that.
They 100% have.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yes.
Good. So in that case, I think that people should be testing them. To be quite honest, the reason I'm sitting here saying I don't know a lot about it is because our students are getting so much business so fast off their personal pages that a lot of them have the opposite problem. They're like, I think I need to hire people. I need to turn the faucet off.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's this guy, I have to tell the story. He is incredible. So he was a former Marine and then got his CPA and started an accounting firm. He is one of those dynamic personalities, and no offense to accountants, I work with a lot of them and I love them. Atypical for an accountant, perhaps. But his whole model is like, we got your 6, like he meshes the Marine thing into the accounting thing, and he's a back tax expert. So if you're screwed with the IRS and you owe them money, he's the guy that comes in and cleans that up and like the fixer of your taxes.
Nice.
And I was like, oh dude, like you're gonna blow the hinges off of LinkedIn. Nobody's really positioning themselves and capitalizing on this market. So here's the thing, I don't have a LinkedIn page and I've never been on social media. And I was like, okay, not a problem. 3 weeks in, he sends me an email and he's like, I just closed a $9,000 deal. Like, thank you. I have the weekend now to go spend with my kids. I'm not working as hard. For me, this is like, I get to live more of my values. And then we were talking a couple weeks ago. He's like, I'm about to go through the academy again. I'm sorry, I had to turn it off. I could not keep up with the level of influx that was coming from this platform. I need to hire somebody and figure out how to scale it. This is a guy that, his story, not mine, was in his later 40s or mid 40s and didn't get social media and had never been on a social media platform before. 3 weeks in, closing $9,000 deals, months in, saying, I got to turn the funnel off. It's too much. I need to just take a step back and figure out how I'm going to scale so I'm not disappointing any of these clients.
Yeah. And so if any of you are struggling with LinkedIn right now, then she's got the cure for that. I remember you telling me a story about you launched it, and then there was a little bit of like, in the very beginning when you launched it, like, there were some haters in the comments or something like that. I can't remember what we were talking about. And you handled them so well, right? I think they were like, I don't even know if it was like, don't post this here, or what. It might have been from the LinkedIn, like the old school LinkedIn days when you first launched it, right? Because you launched it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I remember you screenshotting it and you shared it, and I think you shared it on Instagram. And it just showed me your confidence level and belief in what you created. And I get a lot of those all the time where it's like, I'm not doing this because I'm scared. that I'll have that level of I'm a fraud,
Yeah.
like I'm putting it out there and it doesn't work, things
Yeah,
like that. And I remember you screenshotted and shared this, and I wanted to share that with this episode because you created what you used to make yourself successful, and then you took it and you shared it as a revenue stream for yourself as your business to help other people succeed. And you have people that are believing testimony saying it's so good that I'm overwhelmed with what I'm dealing with right now. So what do you do now from that standpoint? Like when these people are telling you, does that almost pop in your brain another idea where they're, see, now you're smiling again, where they're saying, I'm overwhelmed. Do you help now figure out a way to help them scale that so they can do it?
We deal with a lot of, I'll say this, passionate practitioners who, they're not sales, but they're just really fucking good at what they do. And they know it and they're experienced at it. And like everything, I got to this point where I didn't want to have an agency. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to become a paid expert. Like that was going to be my jam. I was going to get paid to speak. I was going to get paid to create courses. That's the business model I wanted to pursue. And now I was dealing with those problems too. So we're looking at other offerings where hiring the VAs, making sure the VAs take care of it, how to scale the brand in a way that isn't diluting anything. If you want to go the paid expert route, how to do that. If you want to go now you're expanding your accounting firm route, how to do that. So yes, like I said, with the article writing being cathartic, it's almost like everything that I do, I figure out, how can I share this? Because if it works, more people need to hear about it. Right. And then what does the appropriate model look like? So in 2020, we actually, because we were hearing from some of the academy students who have several businesses, this is great and I want more of you. So we listened to the market and we're like, okay, we're about to launch this coaching program. It's personal brand advising. Very high level, like I'm going, you're deep shoulder to shoulder with them. And it's a $10,000 program. We're only going to accept 12 people into it. For the right person, it's going to be great. But that wasn't like, I want to make $120,000 next year. That was because I kept hearing they needed more. And I was like, I'll be a fool not to serve my market up exactly what they're asking me for. Sure. Well, always, and this is exactly how I launched the course. Get an audience, find out what they need, and then build and sell them that thing. Or first of all, never mind, important context shift, sell and then build the thing. Right. I sold the course before I ever built the course. So for me, financial validation is way better than, that's a great idea, Kate. No, I want you to pay with your wallet because I know that then you really value what it is I'm going to teach. And then I built the course week by week because then I had to deliver. Yeah. Well, I've got paid clients, now I got to get it together.
And it's great having a course because it's passive income. And Nick and I did the same thing with Reputation Domination because we had other agency clients that were killing us on the phone constantly saying, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? And we finally were like, dude, forget this, man. Let's just make a course. And when they hit us up, let's just send them the link. And if they want to pay for the course, they got the course. And if they don't want to pay for the course, then they're on their own. They're going to have to figure it out on their own. Yes. And that was great for us because what it did is it created a passive income outlet. At the same time, it also cut down on the time where I felt like I wasn't helping people or answering DMs or trying to help people go along when I would give them advice, but at the same time I'd be like, I should have told them this too. That's why we created that course. So you're absolutely right. And it's now, the course is almost like a defense mechanism as well, where it's like, I can tell when someone's asking me questions and I'm like, but they'll continue to ask me questions. Yeah. And it'll get to the point where it's like once a week they're asking me questions and they're not a paid client. Yes. And then finally I have to go be like, look, man, like you gotta, like if we're gonna take this to the next level, like you gotta do this, right? You gotta commit to it. You gotta pay me something. So, totally. I'm kind of already there, and that actually piqued my interest about the deep dive in personal branding because I get that a lot too, right? It's like everybody wants to create like this personal brand. Yeah. And it's interestingly enough, when I created mine, I was probably 2 years ago or whatever. The only reason I created it was because my business partner, who's my best friend, was like, you should create a personal brand. Like you should just start like I wasn't personal on Facebook. Yeah. Like I was, and quite honestly, I'm an introvert. You wouldn't think that. I wouldn't. I like suffer from like social anxiety. Sure. Like suffer from it. Like I was at the Royals game last night. I was like, it was brutal. Yeah. Like I'm like, I can't be around as many people. Actually, it wasn't that many people. Yeah. I'm like, I don't like going to concerts. Like I don't like being around a lot of people. Yeah. And so it's just how I am. But then like, if I'm talking about something that I'm interested in or I'm helping other people, I don't mind being around a lot of people. Yeah. So I'm wired It's very weird. I'm
Yeah.
wired differently than everybody else. So I didn't want to be like public on social media, but then I just like flipped that switch. And when I flipped that switch, it goes back to that first post I made on LinkedIn. And then I started kind of outlaying myself to the other avenues and seeing the success there. And really what I was, from that success standpoint, was hearing what other people were saying to me, that I was helping them.
Yes.
Either that post helped me a lot, things like that. So that's why I shifted it. But then I asked my audience, what do you want to see more of?
Yes.
And my audience kept saying, we want to see more motivational stuff. We want to hear this stuff, this stuff, this stuff. And I'm like, what about the social media, digital marketing stuff? And they're like, not really. It was like 20% of the market.
Yeah.
So I said, fine. I'll leverage 80% of my audience. I'll give them the motivational shit. And then 20% of my audience is still going to get the social media, digital marketing tips and things of that nature. They're going to get that. So yeah, it struggles a little bit. And on LinkedIn, I think my messaging, and this is my ego talking, because I don't have a huge ego. You think I might, but I don't. My LinkedIn, my messaging might be off.
Could
Now
be.
that I think about it,
Yeah.
my messaging might be off.
Could be. It's the first place you should look if you're not experiencing success on LinkedIn. I always tell people that. Look at the posts, see if your target client is looking at the post. If not, 9 out of 10 is the messaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have to take a look at it. 'Cause
Yeah.
I kind of need to do that. Let's talk about, because we were talking about premium, which I really, really like. I pay for premium just because I like seeing people. I wanna
Checking
see-
you out.
I want to see who the fuck is looking at my profile.
Totally.
Like, I'm totally cool about that. I, think
I
it's
love
awesome.
how creepy LinkedIn is.
Dude, I agree 100%. So we talked about growing ourselves. We talked about scaling the business, because that's kind of like what we did, and we had to scale too. Like we 100% did, because our clients liked the reputation management side, but then they kept saying like, what about social media? And what about this? What about that? And we had to really, like 3-4 years ago, we had to scale like to a certain point where we just were like, we're a full-on digital agency.
Yes.
If you need something, we got it. You want video, you want photos, you want a website, you want that, like we do it all, right? And so we've been able to do that. One of the sales portions of it, which I think you also do, is we don't typically sell anything. We let our clients' testimonials sell for us in a video format, where people see familiar people that are around saying we're good at what we do.
Yes.
I find that is the easiest way to generate leads nowadays.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah. I mean, the academy. Look, we'll probably have 3 sales calls about the academy a week. I'm pretty good at closing. I usually close 2 out of 3 of them.
That's good.
Yeah. and they will come from just me posting before and afters of people's metrics in my Instagram story. I mean, that's it. I say nothing about the academy. None of it's a hard pitch. That has consistently delivered more revenue for my online course than doing like webinars and funnels.
Yeah.
I do very specific and timed launches, and that's a really nice, like, large flash in the pan income wise. But I mean, yeah, there's no hard sales. Most of the community is just propagating itself now. Like here, they self-refer. We have a referral system for it. Yeah, I mean, testimonials for sure.
Are you doing a lot of? You're doing a lot of speaking events too,
I
right?
am,
Like
yeah.
I feel like you've always done that. Like,
Yes.
that's just-
Yes, yeah. And that was actually before I even started my business. When I was in corporate America, people love to hear from people who are in corporate and not necessarily selling something, but you're on the client end of it. And I was not shy about speaking. I enjoyed doing it. And so I just started to get out there. So pretty young, I think I was like 23 when I started speaking at the BBJ social series from the client side of like, this is what we're dealing with as a large company who's expanding nationwide. This is what you need to know about managing the brand.
Okay. I mean, that's the one thing that's kind of started moving forward with me, especially in 2019. I put a lot of effort into that.
Yes.
And it's now paying dividends where people are paying me to come
Yes.
speak. And I think I'm being, in fact, one of the people that is actually helping me run that is like, you're not charging enough money.
Yeah.
Like you're not. And I'm like, I know, but I don't feel like I would much rather take on more, right? And not say no to someone because they're not willing to pay this much money. I'll let you pay this. And so I do that stuff all the time. That's one of my downfalls.
Yeah.
Where I definitely don't charge enough for what I do.
Yeah.
I do not.
It's interesting with speaking, and I always say this because a lot of the people, again, that come through the program, they're looking to become thought leaders. And we always say, hey, how much money are you generating through speaking? Oh, not really anything. We're like, why? If you're a paid expert, that should be a lucrative revenue stream for
Sure.
you. And I was on the phone one day with a huge conference that wanted me to come speak about branding. It was like for, I don't know, but it was going to be 500 to 1,000 people. And I said, okay, well, you know, if you want me to come speak, and I'm talking about a long conference, it's going to be $5,000. And the guy on the other end, this is what he said to me, wow, can't wait for a job where I get paid $5,000 to come and speak. And I was like, okay, sir, let me just really lay this out for you. I am a consultant. You're asking me to give up 8 hours of that day to come. You're asking me to create, because I will, because I always deliver to audiences, a speech that's going to resonate with your audience, which will take me, because I'm a professional try-hard, probably 8
I love that you
hours.
said try hard. So now all of my followers that play Fortnite right now will know that Kate just dropped try hard. We can make that into a GIF, by the way. We'll have TJ make that into a GIF. So you're like, try hard, try hard, try hard.
I am. So I could spend 8, I'll probably spend 20 making the speech. Then you want me to travel. Then you want me to tell my clients I'm not a bit, you know, like all these things. I'm like, so let me ask you, now when I frame it like that, how's $5,000 sounding? Expensive or like a fucking bargain? And then they just thought it was, they were like, oh really, we were hoping 2,500. Like, that's perfect, I'm not your girl. And I wasn't, only because I wasn't interested in taking on their clients. They weren't my perfect client avatar. They were like large industrious businesses. I didn't have an offering. I didn't feel like making an offering just for that. Having said that, had it have been a room full of accountants, attorneys, and HR consultants all day, I would have been like, don't pay me anything, because I know I'll sell the course and I'll make $30,000 if I do it right.
Can I ask you a question? If he would have approached you differently, because I know this probably isn't true, if he would have approached you differently and said, hey, listen, Kate, we love what you do, this, that, and everything else, and said, we only have a budget of $2,500, but we would love to also help with like in your stay, things of that nature. Is this something that you would consider? You said yes.
I would have.
I guarantee. I knew it.
I would have.
That dude's approach, he blew it because of his approach.
Did. And the thing too, and this is not to get into this whole thing, but like my mansplaining.
By the way, she only takes $5,000 for speaking.
My like mansplaining alarm is always going off.
Yeah.
It's just like female, you sometimes look for that, and you're like, you gonna tell me that like I'm not worth the rates I'm charging? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And having said that, I never burn bridges, so I politely just said that I don't think I'm the best fit, and I referred them. Out of the goodness of my heart, 3 other speakers who I thought would be. But you're absolutely right.
Oh, hey, thanks for that, by the way. Thanks for. I just want to put that out. Thank you for referring them to me.
This was years ago. I don't even think we did. But yeah, had he have said that, I for sure would have tried to find a way to make it work.
100%. And I do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's how I'm asked or how I'm treated, or if that's a person that's, you know, maybe already a paying client.
Yeah.
Right. If they're already a paying client, like sometimes I'll come into you and stuff like that. So I mean, yeah, it was a struggle for me to start charging, but now I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
And it really only happened because other people said to me, how much is it for you to come speak?
Yes.
So when I knew that it was time,
Yes.
when other people were saying to me, how much is it?
Yes.
I was like, oh, all right, it's time.
Well, this is the thing too, and you know this as well as I do. We were selling the academy online for $747, right? I started working with the founder of Easy Webinar, Casey Tiemann, who and his team, and they were like, I ran them through everything that was in the course. They looked at the course. They were like, "Why are you selling this for $747?" And I was like, like people convert on 7s. If that's a decibel, it's under 1,000. I can flip it online. They're like, no, you need to double this. And I was like, okay, should I add in more bonuses? They're like, no, you need to double this and remove the bonuses you have in there. You're giving away too much. And I was just like, God, I feel like the conversion rate is going to go down. I doubled the price of the course. I removed bonuses from the course, and the conversion rate went up. Because people value something as much as you're going to allow them to value it, and we got more serious students and students that were performing well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, by you increasing your pricing, you got quality.
Yes.
So basically, you're Apple.
Yes. There it is.
It's not rocket science, guys. There's a reason why Apple and Nike and and these companies stand where they stand. You guys devalue. A lot of people devalue what their worth is.
Yes.
Out of fear.
100%.
And that's really what you were at that point. That's kind of what you're doing. You were like, dude, I don't know. Like, this is my first webinar. I've never done this before.
Yes.
747. From a psychological sales standpoint, that makes sense to me. It's gonna skew with my audience. My audience probably has a budget of 747 that they're willing to get away with. But at the time now, you're working with quality people
Yes.
that say, oh no, this girl knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
I'll easily give her $1,400 to learn to get all her secrets.
Yes.
Okay.
Opposite problem now. I have like big, like bona fide, like serial entrepreneurs come in. They're like, "Why is this $1,500? You need to go up again."
Yeah, 100%.
It's great, and
Yeah.
they just start like it's brokering, so they're referring themselves. Yeah, the audience.
If I told you what we charge our clients for our services,
Yeah.
you would be like, Todd, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
And my business partner tells me
Yes.
that I'm a fucking idiot
Yeah.
for our pricing structure. And the reason that I have it set where it is because there's nobody else doing it.
Yeah.
And because I did it that way and I stuck to my guns, like, we're no contract.
Yeah.
Our entire agency is built on no contract at all.
Yeah.
And people think that I'm an idiot for doing that. And in reality, when I did that and made that decision 6 years ago, it's doubled my business because of that, because I let the performance do the talking. You got it.
Absolutely.
And does that devalue the agency? I have no idea. I don't really care.
I think it shows the confidence level. Like,
That's it.
We're so confident in what we do that if you guys don't see it, and I say the same thing, we have a 30-day return policy. I've never had to enact it. If you do the work and you show me you've done the work, well, I don't even take. I put it in a holding account for 30 days. It's your money. It's not my money.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's the deal. And again, 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah. So what's a new client worth to you? $10,000. Great. So we've already established the ROI of this. And if you don't see it in 30 days, no problem.
Yeah.
I'll give it back to you.
Reporting on an investment is the key nowadays, and that is, I think, one of the issues that people are having from an advertising standpoint. We're not going to go too deep into it, but I have a lot of clients that are performing in omni-channel, and they have no way of reporting whether the investment that they put out and the revenue that they've generated from it, or where it's coming from, or who called, or where it's from. They have no way of doing that, and the old regimes are getting pushed out by some of these younger people understanding what. I'm not against TV commercials. I'm not against radio stations. I'm not against any of those people. I'm just like, show me the numbers though.
Yes. You know, I also love what you say about this, because I think with anything traditional media, so when I started my business, I was working with THB, Taos and Hot Bagels. We did their rebrands, and their founders, I totally give Tony the credit for this. He just got it. So they would make like billboards or something, not cheap media investments or radio ads. First of all, I'd always make them at the forefront of it because they have that like Italian accent. Everybody loves them, and it's like Taos and Hot Bagel. Like they're very likable, attractive people, if we're being honest. And so everything they would do, they would get like a billboard or something, and then they would all go take a picture of themselves next to the billboard and just blast on social media and email and just act like it was the world's most exciting thing that we got this billboard. The whole time we know that they're paying for it, but like their channels went nuts for it. They're like, you guys are exploding, you're everywhere. And they were just so great about that. And the other one I love what is the one? Is it Big Boys with the yellow freaking pen? Yellow and pink pen.
Oh, that's Big Boys Bail Bonds.
Okay, so this is what I always tell people. I'm like, you just have to look at the angle for any traditional play. Promo items, we could all say, you get them, they're cheap, you throw them out, these dumb pens. But what they did so brilliantly, like the pen was the thing they then started marketing. So they would get cars with a giant pin on the top because that became their shtick. And so whether it's a billboard or a radio ad or a very annoying bright yellow pen, if you actually flip that as that's the newsworthy thing and then we're gonna blast that out on social, people are like, amazing, good for you. Like there's Halloween costumes now of that Big Boys Bail Bonds pen. I think it's fucking brilliant, whoever thought of that.
Dude, it's so smart, and that's one of most people don't realize it's the smallest things that end up being the most important things, if that makes sense.
Yes.
As we teeter into the end, I want to start talking, because I always do this to all of the people that come on the show. I ask them 2 questions and they have to give me 6 answers.
Okay. Yeah.
So the first question is always the easiest one, and this is the one I feel like everybody always gets the most interest out of. So I'm gonna cut right there. Who's your battery changer? I want to get your answer from you. Yeah, it's okay. Zimbity-doo.
Well, I'm just like, I cannot wait to dig into this food out there. Everything looks so good.
You're gonna love it. Let me know when you're ready. 3, 2, 1. So I want to deep dive into my 2 questions, 6 answers.
Yes.
Which is like my favorite thing to do because I get to turn it into a blog. Because you were talking about writing articles.
Yes.
And that's what I like to do too.
Repurpose that content.
Yeah, exactly. So the first question is always typically the same question because most of the people that I have on my show have either a really good following on social media or they just get it, and it doesn't necessarily mean one channel. There's usually one channel they're always kicking ass on, right?
Yes.
We know that you already kick ass on LinkedIn, but give me 3 tips that you use from a social media standpoint yourself. It could be a mobile app. It could be just some context behind just a little quick sample of what you give in the academy, something like that, that might pique somebody's interest that you've never talked about before.
Yes. So I've actually never talked about this before. I might have written about it, but we usually withhold it from people. The first thing is, if you are afraid or if your mind goes blank when you go to create content, and that's everybody's biggest thing, right? It's like, man, I don't know what to talk about. I'm like, here's the thing. Just come up with the top 10 questions people ask you, even if they're about your story, not even about your business. But the top 10 questions people ask you about your business or clients ask you, and then write out answers to those. However, when you're writing out answers, don't get all technical. Write it to your mother or your father, or if your brother or your friend, whoever is close in your life. And the reason I have them write it as a letter, because usually the second we frame it in talking to our friends, all of that expert level language that we don't even realize we're doing because we do what we do on a day in and day out basis becomes familiar, it becomes easier to digest, and it becomes easier to follow. So I think a lot of people sit down and like, now it is corporate marketing time and the video or the content needs to look perfectly polished. And you and I both know it's quite the opposite that actually generates really well. So start with the 10, write it as a letter, and then run it through the Hemingway app. So the Hemingway app is this thing online where you put content in there and then it brings it down to a 6th grade reading level. And people are like, no, I went to college, my clients are gonna be so offended, this is unprofessional, oh my goodness, millennials, they ruined the English language. But the reality is, the majority of adults in America read at a 9th grade level, and most people prefer to read 2 grade levels below what their reading level is. So most mass marketed novels are written on a 7th grade level. If you're writing above a 7th grade level, a publisher is gonna tell you, we're getting a little dangerous here. So you always want to check your voice and how, I call it the expert gap, like close that expert gap. Start by writing it to a friend or a family member and then get your best check through the Hemingway app. It's going to make your content super digestible.
This makes a lot of sense because My Side of the Mountain is my favorite book.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's like only 1 of 2 books that I've ever read. And it's literally probably a 3rd grade level book. So,
Yeah. I mean, listen,
but you're absolutely right.
People love Who Moved My Cheese. People love like The Alchemist. They're like 90-page like parables that are super easy to follow. I mean, we want content. We want it like this. Nobody wants to read a dissertation on whatever it is that you speak on.
I inadvertently distribute my content like that.
Yeah.
Not by design. No, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I literally distribute my content like a 3rd grader would distribute content.
But that's the brilliance of your social media. A lot of people get themselves in the opposite trouble. They do. They're like, now it's professional. How do I have to perform? It's my personal brand. Yeah. So they start speaking this corporate or perfectly polished thing. And you and I both know, again, you don't do it by design, you do it wonderfully naturally, but some people, a lot of times I just have to walk them back. I'm like, you're talking to your kid here.
Yeah.
You're talking to your kid about taxes. You're talking to your kid about compounded interest.
Yes.
Explain it like you would to your 3rd grader.
That right there is how I would explain it to real estate agents, how real estate agents are currently doing it right now, because I'm working with a lot of real estate agents. They're explaining, and mortgage brokers and stuff like that, these guys are explaining shit. None of us understand it. Not one of us understand one thing that they're saying at all.
And think about it, just by virtue of how frequently, not to go on the real estate kick, you're buying a house, you're never going to get the opportunities to understand it better. They're always going to be dealing with somebody who's only made their second or third at most transaction in their life. So it's not even like taxes. I'll almost give it to accountants. At least that's coming up year by year by year.
Exactly.
Real estate agents, forget about it. You're always either going to be dealing with a first or maybe third time home buyer.
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
So the Hemingway app, if you guys didn't hear that, download that Hemingway
Yes.
app.
Yeah,
Second tip.
Second tip, I always, and I don't know if this is particularly novel or revolutionary, but it was for me. When I'm in a content stuck point, I film myself and then I just send it off to rev.com and get the thing captioned or transcribed. And then I'll either take the transcription and I'll make it a long form post, or I'll take the captions and I'll just put the video up. So video is performing on, you know this, guys. I mean, there's a reason I asked him to do this in person so a videographer could be here because video performs, but a lot of people aren't taking it a step further and then just paying somebody to transcribe it. They're thinking, okay, now I have this flash in the pan content. You said it wonderfully. You're turning this into a blog post, but then they think, oh, I don't have somebody on staff to do it. No, there's virtual assistants who will transcribe the video, or there's apps who will literally transcribe and caption the video. So if you're not making use of either something like Assistant Match or Fiverr or Rev.com to create your content, do that, film yourself, because again, you speak much more conversationally and in a way that's easier to understand than you write. So just start banging out videos. You need to do it.
100%, and that is exactly what is going to happen. I mean, I talk about Rev all the time. At the end of this ending part of this podcast, literally will get shrunk down. This audio will get sent to Rev within like 25 minutes.
Yes.
I get a file back. It's got everything in. I can then take that, like you just said. I'm going to do this though. I'm going to try this. Typically, what I'll do is I'll take the context and then I'll write the blog off the context. But I'm going to put it in the Hemingway app and see what it comes out to. And interestingly enough, it'll probably come out to a lot of punctuation and misspellings, like I normally do everything else in my life.
Yeah, but it's great. It's like it'll actually tell you like remove semicolons. This is too complex.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm like amazing. I feel smart every
Because I
time
get totally called out all the time. They're like friends of mine, right? They'll be like, "Oh, you put then and then," and I'm like, "Fuck you."
You know, grammar Nazis are real. I appreciate it. I love English language.
That's why I'm grammar.
Yeah,
That's why I'm
exactly.
grammar. And like a bunch of people that watch out my shit or like switch in. I'm like, no, keeping that "and" in there just to piss you off.
Right.
All right, that was a great one too. And then tip number 3 from a social media standpoint.
Tip number 3, I'll say this. I say it about LinkedIn, but it's transferable to every social media platform if your intention is to curate an audience or specifically to get clients. Your profile should be nothing about you and everything about them. I get a lot of pushback on this, especially on LinkedIn. They're like, it's a professional platform. It is set up in a way to show my past experiences. I'm like, that's great. The reason my profile converts before people even get on the phone with me is that I look at the LinkedIn profile as a sales page. And if, gun to my head tomorrow, somebody said, choose your website or choose your LinkedIn profile, I would say, screw the website. I don't need it. Because the profile is actually structured in such a sales page way, like one big sales page, that I'm basically having a duplicate of my website on a place where people are already fishing. They don't need to break and then go to the website. So look at any property that you have, and I just did a LinkedIn profile overhaul with a gentleman out of California, and he really got it, but his whole about section, we just made questions about his clients, like why is it so hard to design winning teams? Why is it that you can't align your business strategy with your people strategy? What is the top 4 out of 5 challenges CEOs face? In this case, it was people problems. And most people, when I reveal the profile, they're like, but wait, it says nothing about me. I'm like, your content will say everything about you. You'll start showing up on videos. They'll get a feel for your flavor, for your voice, for your tone. But that mainstay thing that people then get breadcrumbed back to find out more, that should actually be about them, not about you. And that's why I always say the messaging is usually off for people if they're not seeing those conversions. Because if you've got people and they're seeing your content, they're like, he's a likable guy, and then they're coming to your LinkedIn profile and it's just more about you, forget about it. They've already seen you in the feed. Now is the time where you pivot and you're like, hey, like, are you getting 3-star or less Yelp reviews? That's and then here's your biggest problems, and then here's the guide, and here's how to solve it, and here's how you can schedule an appointment. Nothing about you. Oh, and by the way, here's 4 case studies about how we flipped that to 90%.
She just gave me free advice. because she probably read my about me. I'm not ready this water because I just think it looks cool. Report it. She probably read my about page, and it literally says like, here you go. It says all this like great stuff about myself, like this huge ego boost, and now I'm gonna go change it to like, are you struggling with blank, blank, blank? Yes. I'm gonna do that, and actually that's smart, and that was free advice, so I hope you guys all go and do that today. All right, and then the second question is always more for the majority of the people that follow myself, not so much the social media people, motivational stuff, because you're just one of those badass chicks that are out there now that people are scared of. It's just true, man. I mean, like, and I always talk about this all the time, like, and most recently I've had more women on our show, and I think it's really because I'm seeing more women do amazing things than I am seeing guys do amazing things. And the reason I say that is because I don't maybe women are socially they're more comfortable than men, and that might be absolutely true. From a motivating standpoint, one of the things that you said to me where somebody told you you couldn't do something, and that really that puts you in a position where you don't get defensive, you get passionately aggressive.
Yes.
To go, oh no, I'm gonna show you I can do it. And I'm the exact same way.
Yeah.
Give me 3 tips to motivate people that are maybe struggling in that area right now, maybe women, maybe guys too, that are struggling in some of the situations that you've been put in.
I'm thinking on this for a second because there's so much I can say about this.
Do you want me to insult you real quick?
No. So this is going to sound maybe a little bit therapeutic, but the reality is I've spent the larger part of 10 years, and why I think I eventually fell into an entrepreneurial pursuit was I really went all in on self-development. I had a disease that left me physically disfigured when I was 14, and I think, again, those defining things, everything in my life after that point became proving I was worth it, which is really great. Usually our biggest setbacks, as you know, because I know you've had them too, they'll push you to do more, but you get to a point where you realize it's not fulfilling if you're always kind of acting from a vendetta, and I had to really grapple with that and come to terms. Having said that, one of the biggest things I will say from a confidence standpoint and putting myself out there that I started to do was I actually started to speak to myself like a mother would to a child. And I know that sounds crazy, but for me, again, as a professional tryhard who's always operating from this context of I'm not good enough and I'll prove to people that I am good enough and not believing that I was until recently, this whole self-talk shift that had me actually gain authentic confidence was not false bravado versus actually sitting down and like a mother would saying to myself, you know, I'm proud of you, Kate. This is where you've done today. This is what you intended to do. So there's some opportunities for us to improve here. I don't let myself off the hook like a parent would. But I'm also, when I started doing that and journaling from the standpoint of a mother or a maternal figure to a child, I think the majority of us are out here striving for validation and approval. And the first place we get that is from our parents. And my parents were wonderful. But the second I started doing that for myself, in the last 2 years, my confidence skyrocketed. And I can say confidently now, whether I'm being challenged from other folks or not even challenged, but questioned before, my first thought would be I have to prove that I know what I'm talking about. And now it is a genuine and authentic, no, I do. And that came from shifting very intentionally self-talk, from journaling from a mother to a child, like, dear Kate, today this is what you did and this is what I'm proud of you for and this is where I see there's room to grow. It really flexed that muscle. So that might be completely out there, but I've encouraged other people to do it. They've done it and they said it's done wonders for them too. So if you're struggling to just believe in yourself, I think that's a surefire way to start changing self-talk, which is really hard to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that, like, even for myself, like, the majority of the stuff that I'm, like, I need to be, like, tased.
Yes.
It's just sometimes get motivated.
Yes.
If that makes any sense. Like, I'll find myself in a complacent state sometimes.
Yes.
And it's almost like I need something to happen.
Yes.
To piss me off.
Yes.
To trigger me.
Yeah.
And then I get back in the game. Like, it's really weird how things work for me.
Yeah.
But what I found to replace that, because I was chasing getting pissed off,
Mm-hmm.
what I found to replace that was taking that and sharing it on social media.
Yeah.
And then I was using what I'm leveraging is other people saying to me that really helped me.
Yeah.
That gives me and keeps me moving, if that makes sense. So it replaced me saying, damn man, I need somebody to piss me off, man.
Yeah.
Like instead of needing that, because I was starting to see that was what
The pattern.
I needed to be pissed off
Yeah.
to kick ass.
Yeah.
And then I went, okay, I need to replace this with something because
Yes.
this is weird.
You know, it's true.
And, right? But it was the same thing with you. Like
I was addicted to I'm not good enough.
Yes.
And that's a dangerous pattern.
No.
It's a motivating pattern because you're constantly proving that you are, but it's dangerous because if that's what's always motivating you, to a certain degree, it's because you believe that it's true.
Yeah.
And I always love a healthy dose of, like, I'm not good enough because it keeps me sharp, for sure.
Sure.
I hate when I'm healthily competitive in that degree. But for your overall really being authentically confident and being able to have those conversations with people, that will never stem from a place of I'm not good enough. That will stem from a place of I believe in what I do and I know we're good at what we do, and so I can have this conversation.
Yeah. And I mean that's kind of why I replaced it.
Yeah.
Tip 2.
Tip 2. Okay, tip 2 is, and we're touching on it here, I'm always a fan of give yourself and create circumstances to perform. So a lot of people ask me about like, amazing, wow, you hear so much about creating online courses, but you're actually somebody that did it and has sustained it for 2 years and now we're going into year 3 with it. What is your biggest piece of advice? And I tell them, sell it before it's there. If you have a social media audience, sell it and then see who buys it, and then you have a situation you need to perform. In the example of online courses, most people sit there and they workshop it, they think of all this curriculum, I have to get the videos, I have to get the worksheets right, and then when I build something perfect, I'll go sell it to an audience. Wrong. If you can beta it with an audience in the live experience, then you can actually adapt it before you put it into evergreen, which is what I did. That's a highly technical example, but when we're talking about motivation in general, I moved from Baltimore and I started my business for there and lived and thrived there for 7 years. Then I moved to DC. 2 hours down the road. DC for me was just proving that I could run my business virtually and not have to physically always see my clients. Checked that box. I got really complacent in DC. I'm like, oh, everybody works on the Hill, it's so political. Like, and I love DC, I'm from the area. But I just felt this sense of there's something more and I'm growing, but I've plateaued successfully. And that's the other thing too. Like for me, comfort is the opposite of greatness.
Right.
Like comfort scares me. I don't like it. And so I got the business to a point where I was like, I'm making a good living for myself. I'm in this cushy apartment. I'm in DC. Like things are pretty good. And I was feeling less satisfied maybe than ever. And so I decided like, I'm going to move to New York and I'm doing it in 2 months because what now that's forcing me to do is to push the business to another level where you really have to expand it nationally. And I'm gonna go bang on LinkedIn headquarters doors once I get to New York and be like, hello, your resident in-house expert is here. But consistently give yourself things to perform. And in Todd's case, that may be painful things that are pushing you to perform. But I think you and I both know when you practice that to a degree, you start to give yourself big, lofty things you can look forward to. And I put them on expedited timelines. So my New York move for me was mapped out in like a 3-year thing, and then I was just like, what if I do something crazy and sign a lease to move in November? And I did, and now I am full out hustle mode again because I have something I have to hit that deadline.
Yeah, you have no choice.
No choice.
And it's funny because you did the same thing. Everything that you just talked about, you made the decision to do it, and that's what you used as your fuel.
Yes.
To trigger your motivation and the drive to get it done faster. I'm just trying to think about what I could do or what I need to do. Well, I got a couple ideas.
Well, I tell people too, like it's not just that I signed the lease.
Yeah.
I told people the day of my going away soiree, because if there's no way I'm moving to New York, guess what? Now there's like 100 people I need to answer to.
So you're like fully committed. You were like,
yeah,
fucking throw me this party, by the way.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't even have a lease at that point. Like I was just like, here's the day my going away party is.
It doesn't scare you? You have no fear?
No, I'll figure it out. I mean, look, if I have to move up to New York with a roommate in a box, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I'll survive at it, and I'll document the journey and put it on social media and figure out a way to monetize moving to another city. That's not what I'm going to do, fortunately.
You need to document that, though.
Yeah.
If you need videographers when you go to New York, let me know.
I do, and I will.
I got some friends out there. And tip number 3.
tip number 3 about motivating
Get
yourself.
super vulnerable for me. Don't cry, but get vulnerable.
Yeah.
Or you can cry. That might
Yeah,
help.
maybe I will. What is my most vulnerable thing? You know, I'll say this personally, and I would again assert that it shows up for a lot of people. I think the thing with most people is that we're actually not afraid of how small or not capable we are. We're actually afraid that we're so full of greatness and so capable, and it scares us that we're never going to hit that potential. And so what I would say to people, and what I realized very painfully through, again, self-development, is I was going through this 7-month program, and they tell you when you enter this program, like, you will get, your personality will get thread through the eye of the needle again and again and again in these next 7 months. Like, it will be the most uncomfortable thing you ever experienced. And like a crazy person, I was like, amazing, like, I'll see you guys on Monday. And I was about to drop out of the program, and my coach, because you get assigned a coach, said to me, I don't care if you drop out of this program or not, but for the love of God, stop making yourself small around men you're in relationships with. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I don't say this to give like a relationship advice on this podcast. I say it because somebody else called me out on how much I would reduce myself, and I was living pretty out loud at that point. I mean, I had businesses, but this is a program that's committed to living at integrity in all areas of your life. So like, it's painful to watch a lion act like a lamb. And I think that the thing for all of us you are lions in certain regards, whether you consider yourself an extrovert or whatever your trait is, you are capable of greatness and you are worthy of greatness. And instead of getting scared about that, I would get really honest with yourself on how to channel that. And for me, again, that was, I started this shift along with talking to myself like a mother, and it sounds a little morbid, but every day I convince myself I'm gonna die. That's really, really terrible. But every single day, it helps me balance the books in my life against what I want to leave on the table and leave on the court. And for me, that expedited me work like this. I turned 30 this year, and I was like, this is a life goal of mine. I'm not getting any younger. I don't have kids or a husband at this point. Like, if I die tomorrow, never having lived in New York, am I going to be satisfied? So I think, look at the thing that you most want, and then, for me, again, it's kind of sick, but I operate from this, like, if I die tomorrow, and I say that to myself every single day. It's probably why I call my parents way too much. They're probably stop calling me, and they're like, no! But I love you, and you guys are great.
Yeah.
I'm going to see you whenever I can.
Thank you for sharing that, because to get vulnerable is very, very difficult. I love that you said that you're 30. I don't even, this is, I want you to remember this. I don't even remember 30, and I'm 40 now, so I'm 10 years older than you, and I don't even remember 30. I remember being 29 and writing down in a book that I wanted to own my own car dealership by the time I was 30, and I did.
Yeah.
And I remember that. But it's amazing. I was just talking about how, like, like my post yesterday literally was, who the fuck told you life was short?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's really, really, really long.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, right now we're talking about all these like great things that you're doing just at 30 years old. What the fuck are you gonna be doing in 10 years, man? Like, it's just crazy to me, because I don't even remember what I was doing when I was 30 years old. Like, my life didn't even start. And that's where I always want people to kind of understand that, like, you don't know in your life when things are gonna just open up for you. You'll know when it's starting to happen. It'll totally make sense to you. You'll be like, oh, this is the moment that I was waiting for. You'll know. And sometimes it happens for people younger. Sometimes it happens for people much, much older. There's actors out there that have all their life tried to be the best actors in the world, and they don't even get their break until they're 60 or 70 years old, and that's the break. They're like, oh, I was meant to be the old man in all these movies. This was who I was supposed to be. So it's just interesting to me that you're 30 years old and like you're doing all this stuff. You use that I'm gonna die thing, because I use that too all the time. But that you're only 30, man.
Thanks, yeah.
It's very interesting to me because to look back in 10 years, like, we'll have to do another, like, I was going to do more episodes. We should do one where she gets to New York. She's like, I fucking made a huge mistake. No, I'm sorry. We won't do that one. Because you'll never even talk about that. But it would be interesting to, like, go back and, like, the 10-year follow-up of, like, you know, you at 40 and you're like, I can't believe I said all that stuff when I was 30. Like, and you know, or if you're like, yeah, I mean, the 30-year-old me had no idea that this stuff was going to happen. That's why I love podcasts so much.
Totally.
Because it's a capture in time.
Well, and that's the thing I was going to say about talking to yourself. And again, for me, as you guys have probably heard, I love the written word. It's very cathartic for me. I've kept journals from age 10. And it is the best. I'm so thankful. I don't know where at a 10-year-old I had this idea. And when I became a teenager and went through the traumatic things I went through with the disease, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to write about all of this and then I'm going to hand it to my daughter to show her, like, trust me, I went through all of this. Like, this is the thing. But it's almost been so great now because I look back and it's like looking at a completely different person. You're like, I want to go hug this child. I have writing from when I was 7. Just talking about things in school and how I was upset. And, like, I'm so thankful that I did that, but also you really get to measure how far you've come, and half that stuff I don't remember writing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she needs a hug.
Dude, I'm 100%. I'm glad you're using that to talk about, like, you know, children in the future and stuff like that you're talking about now. See, because that's going to show in 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a 9-year-old to be like, geez, we're talking about me back then. That's crazy.
Yeah.
My son, I suffer from attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and you've probably seen it, obviously, where I'm, like, moving around like 15 different times. My oldest son suffers from it.
Yeah.
And so it's good for me to be able, it's good for him to be able to have me to go, did you feel like this? And 100%, man.
Yeah.
Nothing makes you feel better as a kid to go to your parents. And you remember this question, you probably remember asking if you ask your mom and dad, they'll say, yes, you used to ask this, or your future kids will ask you this. Did this happen to you?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like this? Like, that question will come up.
Yes.
I will tell you as a parent,
Yeah.
tell them yes.
Yeah.
Every single time. It will make them feel so much better.
Done.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having
It
me.
means so much to me. Where can people follow you? How can people follow you? Where's the best places to find you? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so LinkedIn, obviously.
Duh.
Hello. My name is spelled a little bit different. So Kate is not K-A-T, it's K-I-T. It's Caitlin, they just, like, chopped off the L-I-N. So Kate Ladon on LinkedIn. I'm active on Instagram
Yeah,
too.
dude, you're super active on
Yeah, I feel like that's where I kind of let loose sometimes.
Yeah.
I just make fun of myself. I'm like, a mom's sense of humor without kids is me on Instagram. So yeah, I mean, those 2 channels for sure. And then the courses, the Influence.Academy.
That right there, 100%.
Yes.
People need to at least go check it out.
Yes.
You do 30-day free trial, or 30-day free trial. I guess it's free trial. It's
Yeah, we have
money
a
back
30-day
guarantee.
money back guarantee.
Money back guarantee.
Yeah.
Do they get any videos for free up front? Anything like that?
We
Like a taste?
For certain people, so I'll say 2 things. We have an onboarding webinar where if they didn't go through the typical funnel, again, you could learn a lot just from that webinar because it's like a regular webinar. You give them enough and then you're like, and you need the whole program. So there's that, we have it recorded for people. And for specific people, we'll do, and I say specific people because we vet that community. Like, I actually kicked somebody out of it because that's how serious I take the integrity of the community. I want people about their business in that community. So it's I am invested in every single one of the students, and for specific ones, we'll give the foundation module too.
Yeah.
Just so they can know.
Yeah, I like that because we do the same thing. We give them like 1 or 2 videos for free just so they get a taste of it. I
Yes.
don't want them spending their money if they're not going to
Buy
full
it.
into it. Yeah.
Totally.
So thank you again for coming on. Please go follow Kate. I think you guys will get a lot out of it. Thank you so much to The Point
Oh, I can't wait to eat.
because she's going to down all this food. Thank you so much for Hippie Brand Clothing. Appreciate that. Spotify, thank you so much. And obviously, we're going to have Kate back on. There's no question about it. And cut.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Dude,
This was
absolutely.
great.